All right, better late than never. I thought I'd finally wrap up my 2026 T20 World Cup series with one last video talking about India's incredibly dominating, record-shattering victory over New Zealand in the final. But before I get into cricket, I want to address something quickly. If you're here to leave derogatory remarks and hateful comments about my hijab or my religion, this is not the place for you. I mean, please move along and find another video to spew your hatred. I'm here to talk about cricket. Hate, racism, and Islamophobia will not be entertained here, and I couldn't care less if that costs me views. Respect is the bare minimum, and if that's a problem for anyone, this simply isn't the space for them. I mean, I'm not affiliated with any cricket board. I don't work for any organization or have an agenda in the cricketing world, and my views here are simply as someone who follows and analyzes the game. And to be completely honest, with the geopolitical situation that escalated on the 28th of February during Ramadan, no less, it was difficult to even focus on making content about matches at the time. And that's why this video is coming later than I originally planned. And I wasn't able to make videos on the semifinals and the Pakistan versus Sri Lanka match. So apologies. But I still wanted to sit down and reflect on the final and properly wrap up the tournament while the memories of this World Cup are still fresh. So let's get right into it, shall we? Now, India became the first nation to successfully defend a T20 World Cup title, lifting the trophy in 2024 in the USA first, and then again at home, their home, just on Sunday. And in 2024, it was Virat Kohli's brilliance and that unforgettable catch by Suryakumar Yadav that sealed the deal for them. And this time around, it was an explosive performance from the top order and a clinical bowling display led by none other than the magician Bumrah. Now, the final itself turned out to be, quite frankly, one-sided, but New Zealand really had no one to blame but themselves. I mean, Dale Steyn even said that if the Kiwis lost this final, the infamous chokers tag might need to shift from South Africa to New Zealand, and maybe he was right. I mean, and honestly, they simply weren't at their best when it mattered most, especially when you compare it to the way they performed in the tournament leading up to the final. Some of the tactical decisions were questionable. I mean, kind of like the head scratching calls we see from Pakistan's captain Salman Agha during the tournament. Winning the toss and inviting India to bat first was one of the first questionable calls. Then there were constant bowling changes in the power play. I mean, very little swing from the pacers and the absence of someone like Khalid Jamieson, who has troubled Indian batters in the past, and McConchy even, who had good outings, may have cost them. And once India's top order got going, I mean, the damage was done. Chasing a target close to 250 in a World Cup final was always going to require something extraordinary. Yes, I mean, New Zealand had firepower with the likes of Finn Allen, Tim Seifert, and Glenn Phillips, but against a bowling attack that features Bumrah and company, it needed a near perfect collective effort, and that simply never came. Speaking of Jasprit Bumrah, I mean, what an exceptional bowler. I mean, truly in a class of his own, finishing with figures of 4 for 15 runs. And when you place those numbers next to the performances of every other bowler in the match, and it just highlights how extraordinary he was. Like the accuracy, the focus, the control. I mean, Yorker after Yorker delivered almost at will, repeatedly breaking the opposition's momentum and their hopes of building a comeback. And I'm not talking about just this final, just this overall performance in the tournament. He's a masterclass in T20 bowling, and without a doubt, one of the finest bowlers in the format. And performances like this only reinforce that. And to top it all, he walked away with the Player of the Match award in the World Cup final, and in his hometown, no less. And when I read about him, for someone who lost his father at such a young age and rose from a very humble beginnings to stand there as a match winner in a World Cup final in the very city where he probably first learned the game. I mean, that's the kind of story that makes the sport so special. Now, looking at India's top order batting, the early stages of the tournament did feel a little shaky, right? I mean, there was Abhishek Sharma, who, for instance, who was struggling badly. I mean, there were 3 ducks in a row and clearly was under pressure. Even in the Super 8 clash against West Indies, he dropped a couple of catches and threw his wicket away. But then despite this sort of long, rough patch that he had in the tournament, he had the full backing of the team management, and the belief paid off, and he produced a stunning comeback. I mean, smashing the fastest 50 of the tournament with 3 sixes and I don't know, 5 or 6 fours in just 18 balls. But if there was one player whose impact truly stood out, it has to be Sanju Samson. I mean, the moment he was brought into the playing 11, his presence completely transformed India's batting firepower. With Samson in the side, India crossed the 200 mark 3 times and also posted a 199 once, a clear indication that the momentum he brought to the lineup. If I'm not wrong, he played 4 matches in the tournament and delivered big performances in 3 of them, scoring 97 and then 89 and then obviously another 89 in the final, all in high pressure knockout games. So the level of consistency just on a big stage like this speaks volumes about his temperament. And it was also heartwarming to hear him mention Sachin Tendulkar in the post-match address that he did, crediting him for staying in touch and offering guidance on how to approach situations like these. And that kind of mentorship is extremely invaluable. And honestly, it's something Pakistani cricket could learn from. I mean, former players in Pakistan spend hours analyzing games on TV shows, and social media. But imagine the impact if more of that experience was shared directly with the players in an unsolicited, unpaid and genuine manner. Of course, that also requires the players themselves to seek out that guidance in the first place, right? But I mean, why would they when they can be in the side in spite of performance? Anyhow, Ishan Kishan also played a huge role in carrying India's momentum in the match. I mean, for someone who wasn't even close to being a regular in the side, to come in and deliver performances the way he did, first against Namibia, then it was against Pakistan, and then later in both the semifinal and then the final also, speaks volumes about his growth, his experience, and willingness to step up when it mattered most. I mean, yes, there were moments in the tournament where he struggled a bit against certain spinners, but overall, he had a dream tournament and made a significant contribution to India's success. And frankly, both Sanju Samson and Ishan Kishan deserve a lot of credit. I mean, their patience, their perseverance, and the way they kept working, despite not always being part of the setup, really paid off during the tournament. And because at the end of the day, you might get selected in the 11 for being a son-in-law of this, that, or the other, but lasting success and glory in this game only comes through hard work and performance. And these two are a prime example of that. Now, when it comes to the Player of the Tournament award that was, rewarded to Sanju Samson, my 2 cents on why it didn't go to Sahibzada Farhan, does make sense when you look at the context. Sanju's performances came exactly when India needed them the most. I mean, in knockout matches, single-handedly, changed the course of the game, and he delivered consistently under pressure. I mean, that said, Farhan was still outstanding throughout the tournament, except for that one match against India. He surpassed Virat Kohli's when it comes to the total number of runs in the tournament, or in a tournament, and ended up being the highest run scorer in this particular tournament. So yes, there were moments where he slowed down while approaching his milestones or reached the centuries with singles. But considering the uncertainty in the team, the coach, the management, I mean, weren't there rumors at one point to send him lower in the order to accommodate Babar Azam up the order? So I think it's understandable why he would want to secure those hundreds. And I did hear Indian coach Gautam Gambhir mention that Sanju's 89 was as valuable as 100 to him, and that's great. And that Indian players generally don't slow down when approaching personal milestones. That's fair, and it's great, and it reflects the current culture within the team. But in Pakistan's environment, it's very different right now. There isn't that same level of clarity or backing for players. I mean, so using that comparison to criticize Farhan doesn't entirely make sense to me. And while we're on the topic of standout performance, there was also a bit of a silent X factor for India in this tournament in the form of Shivam Dube, because apart from that first ball duck in the opening match against the USA, he was incredibly reliable throughout the competition for India. I mean, I can't recall a match where he didn't contribute exactly what the team needed from him. Even in India's only loss against South Africa, he scored nearly half of the team's runs while trying to salvage their net run rate at that point. And what made his tournament, to me, even more impressive was his adaptability. He was shuffled between positions from, I think, number 4 all the way down to 6, 7 even. And there were a number of games where the top order wasn't up to par, yet he contributed and continued to perform with an excellent strike rate and played crucial innings wherever and whenever India needed stability or acceleration. And to me, sometimes the biggest impact in a tournament doesn't always have to be, doesn't always come from the loudest performances. And Shivam Dube was a perfect example of that. And actually, Axar Patel also is another player whose contributions often don't get the recognition they deserve. Almost the whole team is performing. So anyhow, he's not always utilized to his full potential, but when the team does need him, he does deliver. I mean, one moment that obviously none of us can forget, and that stands out, is the incredible athleticism on the boundary. That relay catch he helped create with Dube in the semi. I mean, his awareness, that quick thinking, the presence of mind in that moment was outstanding. In hockey, you'd probably call that an assist. And I think ICC should probably think about including his name, even if it's like hyphenated, like they do when they list runouts. Nonetheless, it was an incredible catch. And in the final, the decision to give him the ball in the power play against Finn Allen was a masterstroke. I mean, it showed the level of trust the captain has in him, the management has in him. And once again, Axar delivered. I mean, at the end of the day, this tournament proved a simple truth about cricket, that talent alone isn't going to win trophies. There's structure, belief, and accountability. Well, I mean, there needs to be clarity. You need to back your players. You need to trust your specialists, not all rounders. India had that structure. They had the belief in their squad. And when the pressure moments arrived, players like Sanju Samson, like Ishan Kishan, like Shivam Dube, Axar, and Jasprit Bumrah stepped up. India trusted their players. They backed them through rough patches. And when the big moments arrived, those same players delivered, like Abhishek Sharma. Now, whether it was the batting depth, the smart captaincy, or Bumrah's absolute mastery with the ball, everything clicked when it mattered the most for them. And because in the end, cricket tournaments are rarely won by a single superstar or a single outstanding performance. I mean, they're won by teams where everyone understands their role, and executes it when the moment demands it. And that is exactly what India did in this World Cup. Now, before I sign off, I'm itching to talk about the Associate Nations and the role they played in this World Cup. And if you'd like for me to make a video talking about them and why the ICC needs to invest in these teams further, beyond just inviting them to tournaments, let me know in the comments. But remember, if you're feeling hateful, do yourself a favor, go for a run or read a book. Just don't bring it in the comment section. That's it for now. I shall see you in my next video. Until then, take care.